Shannon Brewer has spent most of her working life on the front lines in the fight over abortion.
This is the one that I can honestly say worries me more than any of them.
Jackson Women's Health sees 70 to 80 patients a week, including some women who travel hundreds of miles from Texas. In September, that state banned almost all abortions after about 6 weeks. The Supreme Court is considering a challenge to the Texas law, but it's today's Mississippi case that could overturn Roe v. Wade, the almost 50-year precedent that prohibits states from banning abortions before a fetus can survive outside the womb at about 24 weeks. With 3 new conservative justices, all appointed by former President Trump, who supported overturning Roe, some see this case as their best chance.
I do hope that they outlaw Roe v. Wade.
And conservative-leaning states are ready. 21 states already passed laws to ban all or almost all abortions if Roe is overturned, while more liberal states are taking steps to protect access to abortion. Back in Jackson, Brewer says she knows what would happen.
They would definitely ban abortion in Mississippi immediately. Yes, and several of other states too.
Now, the court of public opinion also is weighing in. A CBS News poll found a 2-to-1 majority supports keeping Roe versus Wade in place, with some Americans saying that that would be a backward step for women. But if Roe is overturned, most Americans say there should still be some restrictions on abortion.
Jeez, Pete. Okay, so today was the day for oral. Can you get pregnant from that? I don't know. Let's ask that caller from the other day. Oral arguments before the Supremes. And I don't mean Diana Ross and friends. No, before the new 6-3 conservative bent Christian Supreme Court. I mean, remember how odd it sounded when we talked about Iran is run by mullahs? They're run by clerics. They have Sharia law. They have religious law in place. Wow. And isn't it interesting how that religious law always, I don't know, disfavors women? Always punishes women, blames women for everything from, rape. You have to kill her. Honor killings. I mean, and now we have a Supreme Court that wants to legislate the Bible. That is not America. America is not a Christian nation. America is not a nation of one religion. It is not a nation of any religion. It is not a nation without religion. It is a nation that respects all religion and no religion. It's freedom of and from religion. That is the basis of American jurisprudence. That is the basis of American law. That men don't make the law. The law is the law. And no man is above the law. No man is below the law. But what about women? So, you see, today the Supreme Court has changed political parties. It has changed its political persuasion. And what is so crummy about this case is that the Mississippi legislature said that they were bringing this case now to ban abortions after 15 weeks. Now, you know what happened in Texas. They literally deputized people to go out and turn in doctors, turn in any counselor, turn in anybody that helped or paid for a woman to travel to, Mississippi, where they have exactly one clinic. One clinic. They're doing 70 to 80 procedures a week in Mississippi because Texas literally slammed the door on women's liberty, on women's rights, on women's ability to be private in their own intimate lives, to pursue happiness. They're very busy, these conservatives, taking away rights in the name of freedom, which is hysterical. But I digress. Okay. So the Mississippi legislature actually stated that the reason that they were passing this particular Mississippi ban in Mississippi and taking it to the Supreme Court now was because the Supreme Court had been politicized. because the Supreme Court had changed political persuasion, had changed political parties. Now, you know that if we acknowledge or accept that, not acknowledge, you have to acknowledge that is what they said. But if we accept that as being okay in America, then we have to accept that the Constitution of the United States of America isn't a document declaring our independence and freedom. It isn't a document that parses out what each branch of government is entitled to do and not entitled to do. It isn't a document that then discusses what's left to the states. And then it isn't a document that talks about individual liberties and rights. No, instead, it's just some political decree. It's just a political document. And depending on who's in power, the meaning of liberty, the meaning of rights, the meaning of equality, the meaning of pursuit of happiness, the equal protection clause of the Constitution can change, especially with regard to a class of people known as women or estrogen-bearing beings. That is exactly what Sonia Sotomayor stated up front. She went early in her ability to question the Mississippi Solicitor General. And she said to him, what are we to think about this statement by the legislature in Mississippi that said they were doing this because political parties matter in the Supreme Court, that it's not just, the law isn't blind, the law isn't fair, the law isn't, equal. The law can be interpreted under a partisan, in a partisan light, through partisan lenses.
The sponsors of this bill, the House bill in Mississippi, said we're doing it because we have new justices.
Huh.
The newest ban that Mississippi has put in place, the 6-week ban, the Senate sponsor said, we're doing it because we have new justices on the Supreme Court. Will this institution survive the stench that this creates in the public perception that the Constitution and its reading are just political acts?
Justice Sotomayor, I think the concern about appearing political makes it absolutely imperative that the court reach a decision well-grounded in the Constitution, in text, structure, history, and tradition, and that carefully goes through the stare decisis factors that we've laid out.
That.
No, it didn't, Your Honor,
Casey went through every one of them. You think it did it wrong.
Right.
That's your belief.
So, just so you know what they're talking about, it's not just Roe v. Wade, which was 1973, but in 1992 there was a case called Casey, and the Casey case literally went through the entire text of Roe v. Wade and all the constitutional principles that needed to be preserved in order to find that women did have a right to privacy in their own person and their own papers, that women had a right to liberty, that women had a right to pursue happiness, that women had equal protection under law, that women were entitled to be free citizens of the United States. Okay, and Casey literally went through all of the arguments that were leveled at Roe v. Wade to codify Roe v. Wade, to say, no, Roe v. Wade was decided correctly, and it was in compliance with the Constitution of the United States, whether you like it or not. Now, remember, there were 7 justices of the conservative persuasion. 30 years ago, that's how long we've been living under Casey. Roe, 50 years. And now they want to undo it simply because they believe that their interpretation of the Bible, the Christian interpretation, is the only one. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.